How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What up, Will?
What up?
Hey, welcome everybody to Story of the Fight. My name is Romero. That's my boy Will. This is an early edition of Story of the Fight, right? A little bit earlier.
15-minute early, you know?
Dang.
Surprise.
Those early birds. Hey, but this is where we talk all things mixed martial arts. Sometimes, we cover a little bit more boxing. We cover different organizations. We cover one. Sometimes Ryzen. Never Bellator.
Ryzen. Yeah, they don't.
Unless they go up against Ryzen. If it's like
yeah.
Ryzen. I think that's the only time we've covered them, really.
I mean, Bellator is genuinely awful. I can't. I've watched every time I watch Bellator event. I get it; they have talent, all this stuff. There's good fighters in Bellator, and every once in a while they have a good fight. But man, every event I've watched, I'm just like, how are they still operating?
Well, they're trying to sell still, right?
Allegedly, Scott Coker just recently said that they're not. So who knows?
Who knows? But hey, either way, if you like listening, maybe you don't want to watch, you can find us pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. Shout out Monster Tony joining us saying Bellator was horrible on Friday. Again, hence the reason that we don't watch Bellator a lot of times. And look, that's saying something. Will is one of the biggest fight degenerates I've ever met in my life. And if he's not watching Bellator, that's saying something.
Yeah, I did see Monster Tony saying besides this guy almost hitting the Mighty Mouse armbar. I did see that. That was sick. The whiz bar. Also, if the whiz bar is what Mighty Mouse calls it, right? The slam into the armbar. He actually really got really close to landing it on Friday. I did see that. How are we not calling that the mousetrap? Come on.
Ooh, wow.
And then Mighty Mouse. Someone brought that up to Mighty Mouse, and he was like, "That's something else." But it's like, but you never showed it. And you haven't done it yet. So can we just call that the mousetrap? Because it's so good. It's such a cool name, you know?
That's good, man. That is a really good name, actually. But, hey, we did have some fights on last night.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, we had UFC Fight Night. Luque versus Dos Anjos. Going into this, look, man, I was being a big old pansy about this because I was like, oh, no, Luque needs to be careful. Like, for those people I don't know, Luque had an MRI. And what was it, like a brain bleed?
After he got knocked out by Jeff Neal, Hands of Steel
Neal.
He had a ruptured vessel in his brain and had brain hemorrhaging, and that's why he's been out for a year. And I love how during the fight, the UFC's talking about he had to deal with adversity. He was out with an injury for a year, and they kept talking about it, but like you could tell they weren't allowed to talk about what it actually was, because
just tiptoeing around.
It was a bad injury he had to deal with. It's like, hey, his brain was bleeding from getting punched. So and if you have to tiptoe around that, should he be fighting? Probably not.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll cover a little bit more about that after we go through the fight. So hey, this is a new Luque though, and I think that this last fight,
brain bleeding,
where he had brain bleeding, made him realize like, hey, I can't just go balls to the wall and just throw caution to the wind all the time, because that was a Luque fight. Vicente Luque, when you saw him on a card, you're like, guaranteed banger right away, right? But dude, you saw him slipping shots a lot more. He was so much more patient.
His fight IQ, like that was the thing that stood out for me the most. That, and everyone's like, RDA is still undersized for 170. Yeah, he definitely is.
He is.
But at the same time, it's up to him to adapt to that, and he couldn't. Meanwhile, Luque's fight IQ, the whole fight was fucking brilliant. It was so good. And granted, RDA gave him the same game plan every single round, so he really didn't have to adapt or change direction or anything like that, because what he was doing was working. But that's not on him, The whole fight, RDA has. Later on in RDA's career, it's been a lot of I'm going to pressure you. I'm going to get these hands going just real quick, and then I'm in on the takedown. His entries are fantastic. The way he sets up his takedowns are so good. But you could tell Luque was like, he knew that. Every time RDA would explode with some punches, you could tell he's just like, I'm just going to shell up. and I know the takedown's coming. He'll get in on the hips, but I'm not gonna. I know it's coming, but he's ready to defend. And it was basically that he would defend the takedown, and he'd reverse him against the cage, and he'd outwork him on the cage, and then
Then he'd take him down.
yeah, and then he'd take him down, couldn't hold him down, and then they got back up, and then they'd separate, and then RDA
And
would close with some punches, shoot for the takedown, he'd
It's like a
defend
cycle.
it, he'd reverse him against the fence, he'd get the ankle pick, they get back up. It was that the entire fight.
It was, man.
I saw people complaining about the fight and stuff, and it's like, I mean, I thought it was pretty entertaining. Actually, I thought it was like a grueling battle. Obviously, it wasn't.
We watch it again.
No, I won't. But there's plenty of fights that I enjoy that I won't watch again.
Yeah. So this would be like a 7.
I would say this is like a let's go 6.8.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. 6.8. I think that's fair. Because it's competitive. You got a couple of big names in there in Vicente Luque and Rafael dos Anjos. There's a lot of strategy behind it. Like you said, you could see the strategy being implemented, and you could see the strategy around the counter being implemented. So it's a fun chess match to
Well, it was
watch.
cool to see. You get two sides of a coin, right? There's one guy who is showing a new facet to the game, which is his fight IQ, and he's not just throwing caution to the wind, standing there and trading with somebody. So it's cool to see the evolution of Luque, and I'm sure the brain bleed is part of it, right? Like you said, I'm sure he's like, I'm not going to stand and trade with these guys anymore. I can win these fights without taking this massive damage. Mazzatoni says, I enjoyed watching the wrestling in this fight. Me too. And then on the flip side of that coin, you see that RDA is not quite as creative as he used to be. He's long in this game. He's a little old in this game. Normally, from a champion, you'd think, hey, this 1-2 takedown, it's not working for me. I got to ditch that and switch something else. And he couldn't. He couldn't adapt. And I saw people complaining about what a terrible fight IQ. And it's like, do you know how hard it is? People don't know how hard it is to just change what you're doing in a fight. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's really,
well,
really
in
difficult.
A career.
Exactly.
Let's be real. RDA has been
him.
doing this for a long time. And at 155, it was very successful. Very successful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider Luque the biggest 170er.
No, he isn't.
But he looked big.
Yeah.
Against
he looked
RDA.
bigger than RDA, but yeah, it wasn't like a massive like size difference thing that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But like you see RDA against someone like Usman. I mean, Usman's massive, Some of these guys are real big. Even Leon. Yeah. Hamzat. Yeah, Hamzat, he's not even a welterweight anymore. But yeah, it was a fun fight for me. If you're RDA, I know this might sound stupid, right? But because it's like, hey, I'm a fighter. He signed up for it. We're in the cage. I have to win this fight. And a finish is obviously better. Are you hesitant to hit him?
No.
He's a human. I think there might be some weird, like, I don't want to murder this guy. Like I said, this might be stupid, but
depends on who you talk to. Like Sean
true.
Strickland, he would have gone harder, I think.
Sean Strickland's asking for this fight.
Yeah. It's on his contract. He's requested it already.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But I don't know, man.
Yeah, man.
He must have thought about it at least once,
You know what was crazy, though, is that at the end of the fight, you have DC talking to him, and he talks a little bit more in a way about the injury. Again, not very specific, but even Luque says, hey, I'm not gonna lie, man, that first round, I was worried about getting punched. I was worried about getting hit. And
Luque is real as fuck, dude. I like that a lot. I was like,
dude,
that's what I'm here for.
When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that must be
could
terrifying.
you imagine? Like, if I'm Luque, I'm asking for only wrestlers at this point. Hey, my takedown defense is pretty damn good. I'm not trying to fight these guys who could smoke me,
Yeah, and then DC mentioned something else during the broadcast, right, where he said, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. And we told the commission, if we see anything going wrong, we stop the fight.
Yep. Well, did you see after the fight, immediately the doctors are in on Luque. They just went to decision. Round ended. It wasn't a war. Immediately the doctors are in there looking at him. It's like, if we're doing that, why do we need to be doing this? Yeah,
why is he fighting?
Why are we taking this chance, man? I I mean, it's just terrifying, dude. It's the first time that I know of, in at least at this level, that this has been caught and allowed to proceed. Brain hemorrhaging.
Look, and I know that the Just Bleed gods are probably rolling their eyes right now.
Literally, yeah.
And those that pray to the Just Bleed gods are probably just rolling their eyes at us right now. But I've enjoyed watching Luque, man. He seems like a cool dude. And I think that the opportunity when we get to meet more and more fighters and talk to them on a personal level and see, like, man, these are some like good people,
cool dudes.
man.
Yeah,
cool dudes. I don't want to see anybody die in the octagon.
No,
when
me
it
neither,
was
man.
when it could have possibly been avoided. But hey, Luque didn't. He had one of the best performances that I've seen from Luque. Yeah. He looks
blessing in disguise,
rejuvenated, reinvigorated.
Brain hemorrhaging. One thing that was cool too is they called it out on the broadcast was that RDA had the ankle wraps on, and then you could see the takedowns that Luque was getting was by reaching down, grabbing his ankles, pulling him out, and halfway through the fight they took halfway through the fight they took the wraps off, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like that he says, all right. But that was all I have for the main event. Did you have anything else?
No, I think this fight probably wasn't what people were hoping for. But like I said, I thought it was an interesting fight. Honestly, that's they don't need to all be back and forth barn burners. Interesting. Like, I want to see interesting matchups. This had an interesting outcome in my opinion. Like, the way it played out was interesting. And like, sometimes that's enough. We can have bangers and these fights and still enjoy both of them. They don't all have to be bloodbaths.
Like Monster Tony said, enjoy the rest. There are other things in MMA. It's mixed martial arts. Yeah. And a little bit later, we'll cover some other fighters that mentioned the fact that it's mixed martial arts.
Yeah. What's funny is there's people who are like, oh, the wrestling's so boring. Oh, this battle for position, I hate it. But then you're like, oh, you should watch the Muay Thai that one's putting on. They're like, Muay Thai, ugh. I'm an MMA fan. It's like, what is going on? It's crazy, man.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? All right. We can move on to the co-main event: Cub Swanson versus Hakeem Dawodu.
Cub,
the dream Hakeem. Right there. Cub Swanson, man. I know he's been doing this for so long.
I know he really has. I mean, how many fights does he have now? He's over 40 fights.
Yeah, 42 fights. That was 42 for him. 42. And he now goes to 29-13 after last night's victory against Hakeem Dawodu. Look, I like the way that the fight started off. Hakeem Dawodu was doing that little thing that frustrates me where, like, fighters go straight back with very little lateral movement when they're trying to get out of the way of shots. So he had this little double jab with the extending right.
Triple.
That
was the first thing.
And he would
as soon as it happened,
boom, at the
as
end.
soon as he did it the first time, I was like, well, I'm going to talk about that in tomorrow's episode. Because that's the thing.
It's money.
The triple jab, double jab, triple jab, people don't do it enough because those first couple jabs you throw, most people, honestly, double jab is enough to land the two. Because, like you said, people move straight backwards. You throw the double jab. The first jab, they'll move back. Second jab, they'll move back. You'll touch them with the second jab. But then they run out of space. You can only move back so much. The two behind that double jab is going to land. You throw three jabs, that triple jab.
You're covering some ground.
You're covering some ground. That third one's a stiff jab now. The third jab's going to land stiff. And then the two behind that, there's nowhere they can go. And I was like, most people don't do it. And I wish people did it more. And Cub Swanson's still at this age, and he's so fight-worn and all this stuff, but he's still able to cover that distance with the triple jab and land the two behind it. Oh, my God. I gave him the first round just because of that.
Like, I don't care what else happens. First round's going to Cub.
Yeah. The judges said the same
here,
thing.
Like, he's got that extension on that right coming through. And Dawodu, props to Dawodu. He started making some adjustments later on and did get some more lateral movement in. But then Cub was still very creative. Didn't look like somebody that's been in 42 fights, right?
Yeah.
He even had like this leaping lead right hook where he literally jumped and jumped forward and threw that. I was like, oh my God, dude.
I remember it was during was it the Dooku Choi fight where Rogan was like, if if you saw a silhouette of Cub Swanson fighting, you know exactly who that is because he
Oh,
does.
it's
He
so
has that
sick.
those leaping shots that he bounces around. He changes stances on his bounces. He's a very distinct style. And I mean, yeah, he's got some losses now. He's especially more recently, but like it's still a very dangerous style to try to fight. You know, if you don't get that timing down, you're gonna get cracked.
No, absolutely. And look, he's recently lost to Giga Chikadze. He's pretty good.
No slouch.
Jonathan Martinez, we talked about this before we hopped on the podcast, right? Jonathan Martinez, I think he's broken into the top 15 already.
Yep.
Shane Burgos, Hinata Moicano, Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega,
He's only lost to really
Max
good guys.
Holloway, Frankie Edgar again. Ricardo Lamas. Remember when Ricardo Lamas was on a tear?
Yeah. That was UFC on Fox 1.
Jens
Remember how much of
Pulver.
a disaster that was?
Yeah. But yeah,
That was
so
when,
I mean, it's not like he's just losing to people with their debut or something
he's
like
literally
that.
only lost to really good guys, except for his first fight. Don't know if that is, but that was also in 2004. So does it matter? Not
No.
really.
No, it's good.
Yeah, I love Cub Swanson. I saw a picture of his kids. His kids were cage side. They're all wearing the same
adorable.
glasses.
Adorable.
And so it was like the 3 judges for this fight. Because after the
gave
fight,
all 3 rounds to Cub Swanson. These judges here.
Because after the fight, you know, Cubs clapping for Hakeem basically, like, yeah, he just won, good fight, blah blah blah. And then they announce him, and he's like, oh, all right, I'll take that. Third round, I thought was a clear round for Cubs. Second round was clear for Dawodu. First round, honestly, I'd have to go back and rewatch it. I didn't think it was that egregious. It seems like people online thought this was like a massive robbery, but I feel like because Cub was clapping at the end, they're saying that like even Cub thought he lost. It's like that doesn't mean anything.
No,
you know, he's in a
No.
fight. He is not scoring the fight while he's fighting. I hate when people are like, I can't believe so and so thought they won that fight. Are they delusional? It's like, no, they were fighting.
Yeah.
They weren't scoring the fight; they were in it. It's really hard.
They're like keeping track of their CompuBox numbers.
Yeah, they're like, well, that one didn't land on me. I landed on this.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, shout out Regen saying I didn't watch, but here to enjoy the show regardless. Thank you, Regen. Appreciate you. By the way, hey,
shout out Regen's channel too.
100,000 subscribers now on Regen's channel. That is nuts. Monster Tony saying I gave Cub 2 and 3.
Yeah, I was gonna rewatch it this morning before we talked about it. I didn't get a chance to, but yeah, this was not the robbery that everybody's saying that it was.
Yeah,
and also like
I thought it was a very competitive fight. That was close.
Yeah, it was close.
It was close.
I saw someone else talk about how me and Hakeem Dawodu is a great nickname, but it's just not appropriate whatsoever.
Why?
He used to be a lot meaner.
Oh, nice.
Now he's a little bit more cautious. You know,
cautious Dawodu. It just doesn't have the same like ring to it, you know. But
I mean, me and Hakeem Dawodu it's a top tier fight name. It's really good.
Okay, Mean Hakeem or Hakeem the Dream? Which one is better?
I think Mean. I think Mean is better.
Mean Hakeem over Hakeem the Dream?
I think so.
Ooh. Hey, shout out Toasty. Toasty saying I made it. The champ is here. The champ is here.
A1,
all right.
First ever amateur A1 champion right there. Andrew Toasty.
See, Toasty says Cub lost. Sorry, Cub. He thinks Cub lost.
Cub lost. Sorry, Cub. Yeah, I got to rewatch it. It's a coin flip fight, in my opinion. You know?
Okay. Well, that's all I got on the co-main.
Oh, hold on. Stop the show. Regent says also will the Baldur's Gate. It's going to take me a year to beat this game, bro. I have put in the weekend it came out. I played for 13 hours on Saturday. Played for 12 hours on Sunday. Yesterday, played for 13 hours, and I'm still in Act 1. I've also played it, mind you, every day off after work, in between those 2 weekends, and I'm still in Act 1. It's going to take so long.
You know what that reminded me of right now? I saw this video the other day online where this guy walks out of this room, right? And like long beard, long hair, and he has like a gaming headset on, and the kids are like, Dad? And the wife comes over, she's like, oh my God, I thought you were going to be gone a lot longer. And he's like, no, yeah, me too. The Wi-Fi went out though. I just thought I'd come see my family. And it's like, he's been locked in there for days. Is that you right now? Just
dude,
sunset.
Katie was gone yesterday, so I was playing all day, and she comes home and in the office right here, PC gets toasty. It's a shout out toasty, but the PC gets warm when I'm playing for 13 hours. She walks in the room and she's like, it's got to be like 80 degrees in this room, and I'm just sitting there like, oh.
That's hilarious.
Toasty says, I'm gonna play D&D later. Who needs Baldur's Gate? Look, man, why not both?
Why not both? Why not? All right.
They're not mutually exclusive.
We can move on to Khalil Rountree versus Chris Daukaus. Oh man, your boy Khalil Rountree.
He is my boy. I like him. I'm a Khalil Rountree fan. I want this man to succeed.
Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is not a fan of Khalil Rountree. And
what does that tell you about Khalil Rountree? It means he's probably a pretty good dude.
Khalil Rountree, we've talked about this before. And we talk about it even like when we're previewing a card that's upcoming and we see Khalil Rountree on there, we're like, hey, which one are we going to get? We don't know. It's a roll of the dice, right? Are you going to get Bangkok ready, Khalil Rountree, or
my favorite Rountree.
Somebody that's hesitant to move forward? We just don't know. But Khalil Rountree coming through in this one, going up against Chris Daukaus, who's moving down in weight, fighting at 205. And look, Daukaus has had a rough go recently.
Yeah, he has. Khalil,
Let's
meanwhile,
take a look at his last 4 fights. You ready? Derek Lewis lost right hooks. Curtis Blades, right cross. Jairzinho Rosenstruck, round 1 punches. So going into this, they're like, hey, your boy's been knocked out quite a bit.
Yeah, so he moves down to light heavyweight, right? This is his first fight outside of heavyweight, and he's like, maybe I could take these shots a little bit better. And Khalil Rountree's like, but I hit like a heavyweight, so maybe not. And I thought Daukaus, Daukaus is decent, right? He's not like an awful fighter by any means. People are gonna look at this and say, look, yeah, Khalil knocked him out, but they're gonna say exactly what you just said, right? Look at the guys he just faced. He already lost all those guys. This win doesn't mean much. You can beat a guy who you're supposed to beat and still show things that are promising,
Yeah.
And Khalil did some stuff with that lead hand this fight that I was like, ooh, man, that's dangerous for anybody, not just Daukaus. Even someone like that, he's gonna give people problems with that. They were pawing at each other, right? That that rhythm that you'll get where you're just kind of like throwing that lead hand out, and you're like, get that out of there, and then here it is, get that out of there. And they were doing that a little bit, and Khalil was almost just like he was just pawing back at it because Daukaus was the one that was throwing it out there, and Khalil was kind of just like nonchalantly like kind of tapping it, doing this, and Daukaus, you get used to that. There's a rhythm to that, and if you're Daukaus, you're like, cool, not worried too much about that. Here comes my striking, haha, and then you come in. And then Khalil's like, remember that lead hand that was just you thought was doing nothing? Here's a check hook. And then a couple steps back, as Daukaus is coming in with more punches, here's another one. In the same flurry, he just hops back, check hook, as Daukaus is trying to blitz through. Back to back. It was perfect. And then after he gets hit with those 2 check hooks, Daukaus resets, takes a step back, and then Khalil's like, it's my turn now. And then what am I doing with this lead hand? Am I pawing at you again? Nope. I'm throwing the feint to the body. So now Daukaus is like, oh, he's doing something with the lead hand. He's not pawing. Here it comes. And he drops his hands to go to the body. And then that left hand comes right over the top with and drops him with it. And it was like, man, that is some high level stuff, to you're setting traps like that because you think you're setting the precedent like, look, this lead hand's moving, but you don't need to worry about it. It's moving. Don't worry about it. And then here's 2 check hooks with it, and then immediately they reset. And hey, here it comes. Don't worry about it. Just kidding. It's a jab to the body, and you're like, oh no, and you overreact now, because you thought it was nothing, and all of a sudden it's something. You overreact, and then it turns out it's just a feint, and you're like, oh no, it wasn't something, and the left hand's already there. It was beautiful. Sorry, that was a long.
I wonder if that's that's the voice in Daukaus's head as everything's going on. He's like, "Oh no!"
Maybe
left hand straight to the chin.
Yeah. It's a little Rountree, man.
Stoppage a little weird,
a little weird.
He falls
not
face
good body
down,
language. Yeah,
and picture. Khalil like kind of is coming in and like he stops a little bit because he doesn't want to hit him anymore. He fell face down, and then
Yeah.
Herb's like, finish him, and
Yeah.
Khalil's like, oh, okay, and he lands this massive
That
shot.
yeah, and it like spins him around. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my god, dude! In this position right here, there's nobody scarier, in my opinion.
Oh.
In the UFC in unified rules, there's no one scarier in this position than Khalil Rountree. I don't remember.
No,
Remember
Derek Lewis.
in this position right here, I would no Khalil, dude. Khalil has those.
Really?
I remember on Ultimate Fighter when he had someone in this position and he just rips a couple soccer kicks to the side. It
Oh
was like
yeah,
right to the
yeah,
ribs. I
yeah.
was like, oh my god!
That's
And
right.
then this was a hammer fist from the gods to the back of the head, and then an uppercut from hell. It's like those
And
two don't
then
mix.
that satisfied Herb Dean at that point. He was like,
Yeah.
enough done, enough damage.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh man, Herb Dean, what a guy.
Khalil Rountree.
Yeah, Khalil Rountree. Khalil Rountree. All right.
Daukaus.
We
Just
have
name everybody. But that's probably it for Daukaus, right? That's got to be the last go.
It's gotta be.
You know,
It's gotta be.
you get knocked out a few times at heavyweight, back to back to back, and then you're like, I'll drop, and that's like this is your last chance. The change in weight
Last
class is
ditch
like,
effort.
all right, you're trying to adjust. We'll see how this goes. He gets dropped. He gets knocked out in the first round. And Khalil now, this is his fourth win in a row. 3 of them are finishes.
And I could see that for Daukaus, man, because he was a heavyweight, but not like he's facing heavyweights that are cutting down to 265. And
Yeah.
there's a big difference there, man. So I could see him going down to 205. He looked good.
Derek Lewis has never made it
physically.
205.
No.
Neither is
absolutely not.
Rosenstruck. It's just not happening.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good move for him to go down to 205.
Yeah.
Not the result that he would have wanted, I'm sure. But
yeah, there's a weird thing at light heavyweight and heavyweight where it's like, should I fight at light heavyweight where I'm naturally like supposed to be, or should I just pack on some pounds and fight way worse fighters? And a lot of people choose to do that, and it doesn't always work out.
yeah. All right, man. Hey, shout out Blunderbub saying, hey, what's up, fellow UFC fans? He says, I also enjoy betting and ad breaks. Okay.
Okay. That's like someone showing up to talk to Dana. Hey, Dana, I love the product. I also really enjoy ads and gambling. So
as you're drinking Prime. Yeah. Hilarious. All right. We can move on now. We had Iasmin Lucindo. Or Iasmin.
Toasty says Will's going to fight light heavyweight.
Yeah, dude, he's working his way up. But Iasmin Lucindo versus Polyana Viana.
All right, let's go. Here's Ramiro's segment of the show.
Dude, I was so heartbroken. Polyana Viana, let's see, how are her last fights been? She falls as 13-6, right?
Mm-hmm. Her last fight was good.
Okay, she beat Jinyu Fry. Before that, she had lost to a Tabitha Ricci. Okay, so look, the good thing is we should not expect to see Polyana Viana cut from the UFC anytime soon. VA already let go of Jessica Rose Clark. They got to slow it down. They can't let go of Polyana Viana right away.
She already lost 3 in a row at one point in her career, and they didn't get rid of her then. And then she bounced back with a couple wins, and then so she's safe.
Smart. Give her every opportunity in the world, please. But
please.
Dude, okay. I have to say it was the first 15 seconds, right? Where they go through, there's still, I loved Polyana Viana's head movement when she would start coming in, but when she'd be in striking range, it would stop.
Yeah.
Stop. And so Lucindo lands a big left hook in the first round. And you could see Viana take a big step back, and she was like, oh, that hurt. And from that point on, she seemed very hesitant to go toe-to-toe with Lucindo. Lucindo's strong, man.
She's strong. She's so young. She came up doing this. Like, just fundamentally, she's going to be different than a lot of people in this division, And I think other people are going to have that reaction fighting her, where they're like, I'm doing my thing on the outside, I know how to look good on the outside because I've trained this.
Viana knows how to look very good on the outside.
Anyway, and then you get cracked and you're like, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that at all. That's going to happen throughout Lucindo's career.
A couple times that happened. And Blunderbub says, oh, that's a great photo. So for anybody that's just listening, not watching, through YouTube. We actually put some pictures up of the fight to kind of tie in what we're talking about. But later on in the second round, Lucindo hits her with a right-left combo, cracks her, and she did she almost like sat down,
Yeah.
And like wobbled back a little bit, and she had like those deer in headlight eyes, and at that point I was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, and
We're
the
not
way
coming
she
back
set
from
up
this.
the arm triangle, right? They're on the ground. They're about to stand it up because she's not doing anything on the ground. Polyana's got her both hands on her face, trying to create space, right? So she's on her back. Lucindo's up top, and she has her hands in front of her face, and she's pushing up. And Lucinda's like, okay. And then she's like, you're just going to put your arms straight up? I'll just grab that. And it seemed like, it seemed like they were drilling arm triangles, the way Viana just kind of like put the arm in the arm triangle. It was really weird. And she's like no slouch in jiu-jitsu. Like she knows what she's doing on the ground. But yeah, it looked like she like just gave her the submission. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but it just seemed like she just didn't want to be in there anymore, and it was like a live to fight another day type of thing, and that was way out. And look, in the first round, after she got cracked with that big left, Viana actually gets a takedown.
Yeah, there's that fight,
but there was just no action after the takedown, and so they had to stand them back up, and it was just a rough night.
Yeah, it was a tough night. Lucindo though is very promising. This was this 2 in a row now. She lost her UFC debut, which you can't really put too much like stock in, to be honest. If someone loses their debut, it doesn't really matter to me. It's one of those things. If you look really good in your debut, that matters. If you lose or look lackluster, it doesn't really affect my opinion of you at all. So for her to come in, she loses that by decision. Now she's got 2 in a row with the submission. Very promising. Super young. And you can tell the fundamentals and mechanics are just there because she's so young doing this, there's 2 sides of that coin too, where there's Chase Hooper, who started super young, and it's like he's too young. But then there's Lucindo, where it's like, nope, she's built for this,
Yeah. No, that's a good call. Oh man, tough night for Viana. É uma beleza brasileira. It's okay, dude. It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, your boy, dude. I'm telling you, my goal is for us to have Hamiro.
Yeah.
Yes. My goal is to have us some Brazilian fighters that we're interviewing on the podcast, and I'll be able to translate.
Moicano, dude.
For y'all.
Where you at, Moicano?
Oh, I thought you said something totally different. I was like, oh, okay. No, we'll talk about it after. But yeah.
Yeah, Money Moicano is who I'm talking about for anybody else who might have thought I was saying something different that I'm not aware of. Let's clear that air real quick.
But yes, okay, we can move on to the next one. And we're going to start skipping some fights, right, for the sake of time. Your boy here has to go to a soccer tournament. Am I playing soccer? No. Is my son? Yes. In 105-degree weather? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we had Marcus.
Juice boxes on the ready.
Oh, ready to go, dude. Capri Suns. Marcus McGhee versus JP Buys. Or
Marcus
Bays.
McGhee. That's my boy. I'm excited to watch. We talked about his debut. Like what I just said. If you lose your debut, I don't care. If you show something special in your debut, that's got my attention. And Marcus did that in his debut, the fight prior to this. He did some things where I was like, wow, this guy has a ton of potential. And then you find out he's at the MMA lab and he's training with is it MMA lab? Is that where he's at? With O'Malley and Kelly Phillips and all those killers. Dude has legit skills. JP Bays has one of the saddest stories in the UFC without it being like an actual sad story. He's with Cheyenne. They split up. She's with like Delidze now, and you're like, damn, sorry, bro. And they were married. She changes her last name, and he just keeps getting knocked out, and you're just like, this is tough. It's a tough thing to pay attention to. Meanwhile, Marcus comes in and he's a skater and he's all about God and all this stuff. He's just doing kickflips for the Lord out there, And then and then he's coming in and he shows this great movement, great fight IQ, just great vision in there where he sees these shots coming and he's like, I don't need to worry about that. Anytime he does need to worry about it, he's reacting appropriately. He doesn't get caught like not caring about things that he should, That's a scary thing when some people are like, this ain't shit. And then all of a sudden they get caught, That's not Marcus. And then he comes in and he lands a 1-2, and it just like blows DC's mind. He's like, he landed the right and the left. And you're like, what? It's a 1-2. he's like, that's crazy.
I got that too. That's so funny.
He's like, wow. And it's like, dude, what? It's bantamweight, man. They're fast. It's a 1-2. It's nothing crazy. But it did look good. And then immediately JP's like, all right, I got to try to get one back. And he blitzes in. And Marcus just sits down on this right hook as he's coming in and just completely drops him. And then JP's on the ground, like out of it, trying to get back up. And Marcus is like, I'm done. We don't need any more of this. Kind of a weird stoppage, but JP didn't even like complain about it. Like he was out of it,
Yeah. And, there was a few times where they both throw the right at the exact same time. But McGhee did a little bit of a better job of just moving a little bit further off the line as he's throwing his. And I mean, this is the picture that's up right there. It just landed square, right on the money. And another good performance from McGhee, man. I love watching this guy fight.
Yeah, and people are like, slow your horse. I saw someone's like, is anybody else like low-key pretty hyped about Marcus? And people are like, slow your roll, dude. He knocked out JP. It's not that big of a deal. And it's like, damn, this guy just keeps getting shit on. But also,
in the words of Blender,
talked about
damn, sorry, bro.
Yeah. And like we talk about it all the time where it's like, yeah, this might be a mismatch, skill wise, but that doesn't like you still have to look for these things in the fight, regardless of if it's a mismatch. Like Khalil Rountree is another example. The things that he was doing with his lead hand, that's high level stuff. Yeah, he did it against Daukaus, but that will work against other guys. Marcus, his movement, his awareness, all that stuff, that's going to work against better guys. And you have to perform no matter what they give you. And if that's someone that you should beat, it's easy to get in your own head and be like, I got this, I should beat this guy. And then something happens because of that. So you take what's given to you, and Marcus has excelled at that both times so far. Very excited to see his next fight.
All right. You know who else I was excited to see? Was Terrance McKinney, man. He went up against Mike Breeden. Terrance McKinney, short turnaround here from his last fight.
Yeah, he just lost. He got submitted, right? With his arm got stuck behind his back, so he couldn't defend the shit. That was nasty.
And he's like, I just wanted to get back in here and get that out of the way, man. Like, I just want to get back in here and get a W, right? So good for him.
Talk about mismatch. Monster Tony says McGhee is who I was watching for last night. Me too.
Oh, he's
when I saw his name, I was like, let's go.
McKinney, we always know, is a fast starter. Comes out right away looking to put you out in the first round.
Yeah, you got to be ready that first round.
His reach is deceiving, man.
Yeah.
Because we know he has a decently long reach, but the way that he's able to lean into it and get an additional, 3-4 inches from that punch is insane.
Yeah.
But Blunderbuff says, this is why I come here to hear about UFC suppressed divorcee versus shredding for Jesus. Will is like the John Anik of podcasting. He's like, and currently in a custody battle, currently going through a divorce. And that is Will for you. That is Will. Straight
they
from
don't call me TMZ Will for nothing,
That is straight from TMZ Will. Oh, man. But, hey, another good performance from McKinney. I thought it was hilarious how at the end he's like, when do you want to, hop back in here? Do you want to make a pick? He goes, put me in Boston. Let's go. And DC's like, next week? And he's like, oh, wait, that's next week? Give me a month.
Yeah.
So funny. So funny, man. Hilarious. I absolutely loved it.
But yeah, dude, Terrance, if you let him go, and you can see, man, Mike Breeden, they talked about it where they're like, if someone's going hard at you like that, you got to make sure you're still in the fight. You can take that round off, but you got to make sure you're still in that fight. And Breeden just couldn't. Terrance was tagging him over and over and over again. The knees he was landing in the clinch, nasty. Like you said, he catches you at the end of his shots, which is arguably how you get the most power on him. Kevin Holland-esque in his whipping ability with his punches. And yeah, Breeden was just at the end of every shot, and can't take that too long.
All right.
Blunderbo says story of the fight and some personal shit.
Yeah, that's yeah, absolutely.
That's what makes the sport so great,
Yeah.
Because if JP wins, you're like, this man has gone through all this stuff, and he gets but instead.
So he lost, and it's like, well,
we're still adding to the bad stuff. It sucks.
Yeah. All right.
No disrespect.
We had a
He's like a
Damon
good dude.
Blackshear versus Jose Johnson.
This was awesome.
Yeah, this was pretty good.
Tough opponent. Again, the last 3 fights, there's a mismatch going on. But if you get served a mismatch, it's pretty rare to pull off a twister, regardless of who you're fighting. Twister's that's a tough one, and this was awesome. Love a twist.
Right away, you see Johnson. I felt like he was really trying to keep a long range. He kept that throwing that front kick to the midsection. It seemed like he was really trying to maintain that long distance. And Blackshear was like, "Yo, no, right? We're taking this down on the ground." There definitely seemed to be a big mismatch there. On the on the jiu-jitsu side, and these elbows that Johnson kept on throwing. While
because
Blackshear had his back taken, right? And he's trying to throw these elbows to cause some damage. And in the process of throwing these elbows, Blackshear saw this opening for the twister, let him throw one of those elbows, and he's like, "Thank you," slipped that arm under his head, reached over, and starts cranking.
Yeah, it was awesome. Twisters, twisters are some of the most painful submissions you could be in. Calf slicer, bicep slicer, twister, in that order probably. Who was it? Was it Gina Mazzani who she didn't tap to a twister in training, and so she had to get hospitalized because she broke her spine because twisters are gnarly.
Not good.
You just have to tap. Yeah, you have to
not
tap.
good.
And it's really, this is what, the third in UFC history?
Third. You had Bryce Mitchell, you had Korean Zombie, and now Blackshear. So in the record books. All right.
Sick.
We have one more fight to cover, and then after that, we'll go into some administrative stuff.
Do you have to leave in 3 minutes?
Yeah, I got to dip to make sure that we make it to the soccer
We can
games
skip this last fight. It was a terrible fight. It was just funny to. Okay. It was going to be funny to talk about.
We'll skip the last fight then.
Santos versus Miller. Watch it. It's hilarious. That's about
it. All right. We had moment of silence for the fights we lost.
Yeah, Marcus McGhee was originally supposed to fight Gaston Bolaños, and instead he gets matched up with JP and has a good performance. Brady Hyson was originally supposed to fight Blackshear. Hyson's staph infection. If you haven't look it up. It's gnarly. So yeah, he has to pull out. Good for Blackshear. He gets the twister. Lando Venata was originally supposed to fight Mike Breeden. So I don't. That sucks. It would have been cool to see Lando. Lando's fun no matter what, win or lose. For sure. And then bonuses. Yeah, let's see. Was there no fight of the night? That tells you something about the card. Blackshear gets a bonus for the twister, obviously. Marcus gets one for his beatdown of JP. And let's see, Lucindo gets one for the arm triangle. And Khalil gets one for putting out Chris Daukaus to pasture. There we go. Blunderbub saying I'm sold. He's probably saying he's sold to the selling job we did on Luana Santos versus Juliana Miller. Yeah, it's a quick one. It's funny. It's hilarious. By the way, Luana, they call her Luana TikTok Queen Santos, which then prompted Brazilian me stamp. She's trying to be go check her TikTok out. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a fan. I don't have TikTok, but I'll send you some stuff. Yeah. And Blunderbub says more UFC bonuses than one this week. Really? Yeah, the Friday fights were good this week, but a little lackluster compared to the ones they've had in the past, which obviously the bar is pretty high. They've set the bar pretty high on those events. Still good, but not like some of the ones they've had previously. Still fun, though. All right. Friday fights. Well, that's all I got. Do you have anything else? Next week, I will not be here for my boy, Sean O'Malley. But we'll figure that's going to be a fun card, though. It's a good card. We'll figure something out. Maybe Toasty hops back on. We'll see. We'll reach out to Toasty. All right. Hey, just so you know, this podcast right here, produced by Richard Bustos. And the kids love us. Tell the moms, tell the kids. We're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers. We're almost there. We're at 3,300 now. Just last week, we were talking about trying to reach 3,000. So we're growing. Podcast is growing. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Blunderbub,
Monster Tony, Toasty, Regen. Always a lot of fun Chan fights. And thank you for listening another week. A Story of the Fight.